I have no idea how the fuck to start this reel off. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is our Quest for the Best, in which we look back at all the films that everyone called the best films of the year from the last year, except for the ones that we obviously already saw. And here's the thing. This year, I focused way more on doing movie reviews on this channel, and I have come to discover I already watched a lot of the films that people call the best of the year.
Yeah.
So we're having to get into the really weird indie shit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're talking about A Ghost Story. So, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. This film has got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. Got a 65% from the audience. And if you look on like IMDb, if you look on Amazon, all the audience reviews are like right there. They're like around 50%, around, 3 stars, something like that. And it's not a lot of people coming in here going, yeah, it was okay. Not great, but yeah, it's right there. It's a lot of best movie of the year. Fuck this shit. Like it is,
like
those are the two extremes. You can tell this is one of those things in which, man, the term, well, you just didn't get, is going to be thrown around a lot when you discuss this film with people.
As is with most indie movies.
As is with a lot. Man, the last film we talked about was Good Time, which was by A24 Studios. And I commented in that review, oh, A24, they're known for doing the weird indie stuff. We sat down to watch this thing. First thing we saw was A24, and you just went, oh boy. Here it comes.
Here we go. And like, this was like way more artsy than Good Time.
Way more. This is the third A24 film I've seen this year, and it's definitely the most artsy, and Good Time was the least artsy.
Yeah.
Which is saying something, because Good Time was artsy. But yeah, this one, basically it's a film where Casey Affleck is married to Rooney Mara, and Casey Affleck dies, and then he is just a ghost, like old school, like Charlie Brown ghost, like.
But just with the 2 holes, not the holes all over.
Yeah, just the 2 holes on a big white sheet. If you look at the cover for this movie, that's it. That's all you get right there.
I think like that's a very interesting way of like making him a ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, like he gets into a car accident, so he like goes to the hospital. So of course he's covered in the white sheet, and then like his wife
raises up. Yeah.
Yeah, just like after his wife like confirms that it's him and everything, and just leaves the room there, you just see the body there under the sheet, and you're just like, any minute now, that thing is gonna rise up.
Oh, I was expecting to see him walk in from off screen. I didn't think it was gonna be like the body.
Well, I thought,
okay.
Well, that's what I was expecting, because you see the white sheet, you see the guy in the white sheet on the cover, so it's like, he's eventually gonna get up. So that's
okay. There was like a curtain like half pulled across the screen, and I was like, he's gonna walk out from behind that curtain. So I kept kind of like looking over there the whole time. So when he actually rose up off the table with that sheet on him, I was like, oh.
It's like,
okay.
Meanwhile, I was like, called it.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. I guess it's true. I just didn't get it.
But I did.
Yes.
I am far more intelligent than you are.
No one's arguing that. But yeah, and then after that, like he walks up through the hospital, not saying anything, and he's not doing that thing where like most ghosts do, and like these films are like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? He's just walking, not talking to anyone. Nobody's noticing him. This big like neon panel, like it looks like the opening sequence from Quantum Leap or some other 80s sci-fi show. Like this doorway just opens up. He stands there, looks at it for a while, then it closes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's your way to the afterlife. Not gonna go? Okay.
Yeah, it was like subway doors opening and closing, just ding dong. Like, nope, in or out, that's it.
So you gotta, here and now, you gotta make up your mind.
There's no like St. Peter, no nothing in there, just boop, boop. Like, that was the quickest thing in this entire movie, was his chance for the afterlife. So he just walks all the way back home.
Yeah.
And then he's just in this house.
He's looking at what's going on with his wife now that she lost him, so...
And she's in the house by herself, and he can't talk at all. Like, I don't mean he can't talk to her, he can't make a sound. The only time in which you, like, get any sense of communication from him is there's like 2 or 3 sequences in this film in which he will look out at the house across the street and there's a ghost there in that window and they like raise hands at each other and then in subtitles, hi. Like they don't make a sound or anything, just hi.
Like most of the time they don't even like use their hands. The only time they ever use their hands was to like raise it up to wave hello.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's almost like they're telepathically communicating.
Kind of, yeah. Like they've got their own thing.
And I found it interesting how like, you know, the other ghost is also in a sheet, but it's like, it's a floral print.
Yeah, that part I found interesting.
So I was wondering, did this person die in their bed?
I was wondering,
and if that's their bed sheets that's covering them.
I was wondering that, or if like everybody is different to kind of speak to their personality or like their like situation.
Yeah.
Then if it's they die in their beds, like that's an interesting explanation. But then what happens to, I don't know, people who die out in the woods? Like, do they get ghosts? Like, do you only get a ghost if you're under a sheet in some way, shape, or form at some point? Like, yeah, it raises some questions. But it is an interesting like way to like look at that. But yeah, this film, it is just, as I said, the #1 defense that people are going to make in honor of this film, like to support this film, is, well, you just didn't get. But the #1 criticism that people are going to make against this film is nothing happens. And both people are right on this one. Yeah, it is a lot of nothing happening in this film.
But that's sort of the point.
That's the point, yeah. It's like,
I mean, the ghost is literally like stuck in the living world. He didn't.
This is not Patrick Swayze trying to reconnect with Demi Moore. This is, the whole point of this film is, what would it be like to be a ghost? And when you're a ghost, it's a lot of standing around, looking at the world you can't touch. And yeah, this film tries to give you that feeling, and it gives you that feeling.
Although there are some moments where he was able to interact, but that's only, once again, ghost...
which felt a little bit odd. That was like, okay, well, can he, like, if he can interact, then it becomes this type of story, and if he can't interact, it's this type of story, and it feels like you're trying to tell this type of story, so whenever he could interact with someone, it was like, alright, well, it feels like now you're trying to tell something different. But at the same time, there's really good stuff that goes on with him interacting.
Yeah, I mean, like... Hello, dogs barking
dogs out in the hall.
Ghost dogs? Question mark? No. But anyway, it was like... Yeah, there is a lot of nothing, but at the same time, there's a lot going on because the way time passes in this movie...
That's a very interesting thing in this. Yeah, that doesn't start until a little ways into the movie. Everybody has talked about it's been referred to as the infamous pie scene in this movie. The most infamous pie scene since Jason Biggs stuck his dick in one. Ask your parents, folks. Actually, don't ask your parents. Don't watch these reviews if you're not old enough to get that reference. But yes, basically, like, there's a moment in which the neighbor lady comes over. She leaves a pie with just a note. Like, there is so little dialogue in here.
Yeah.
Like, the neighbor lady doesn't even see Rooney Mara there when she gets in. She just leaves a note and then walks away.
Sorry about your loss, have some pie.
Yeah. And then Rooney Mara, like, sees the pie and, like, she cleans some dishes, walks over the pie, takes the tinfoil off, reads the note, digs a fork in.
And then eventually she just, like, grabs the entire thing and just sits down on the floor and just shovels it in her face. It's obvious like she's stress eating because she's just so upset over the loss of her loved one.
Yeah, and there is actually, here's the thing, you didn't know about this scene. I've heard everybody talking about how this scene, like, either was the moment when they realized what this movie was about, or it pissed them off the most. So it has been discussed on many different shows that I have watched. So I knew it was coming, but there was a moment in which you just went, so she's just gonna eat the whole pie? And I didn't say crap, because like, yeah, I'm gonna sit here and wait until you realize that's what you're in for. That's the movie you signed up for.
Although, spoiler alert, she didn't exactly eat the whole thing.
Everybody was like, my God, I can't believe they made her eat this entire pie. She eats like, I don't know.
Like a half of it?
Like at most, she eats half of this thing.
And then she like goes straight to the bathroom and starts puking out because she ate too much, but it's like...
Which might not have been in the script because they probably had to do this multiple times. So I'm looking at this like, well, she ate like half a pie. That's a lot, but not like insane.
No.
For the 12th time she had to do that today, fuck yeah, she probably just ran and that was probably like, fuck this. No,
like, here's the thing is like, after you told me like that's the infamous pie scene is like, oh, so this is where everyone thought the whole movie was just gonna be, and then it was just gonna end. We should finish the pie, or.
It feels like, here's the thing, this really kind of feels, it's an hour and a half, so it's not a long film. But it does kind of feel to me like this would have made a better short film, like maybe just like a 40 or 30 minute long film, because it's trying to give you this feeling of, oh, what's it like to be a ghost? I kind of got that feeling like after half an hour. But they do continue to do some stuff in here later on that I did think really kind of spice up. It kept it from being boring. And one thing that I will say, for a film in which, like, the whole point is you're just sitting there just waiting as time goes by, this movie didn't drag to me. Because that's an interesting thing. Last night, by the way, this was not the film we were going to originally review today on Quest for the Best. We watched the documentary Wiener last night, and I loved it, and I couldn't wait to talk about, and then I checked the date that it came out. I misread it. It came out in 2016. I was like, well, maybe it made like the theater circuit then, because I know it was like at Sundance and a bunch of other film festivals before it actually got released in actual theaters. Maybe it got released in actual theaters in 2017. No, it didn't. It got released in actual theaters in May of last year. Came to Blu-ray and DVD in August of last year. There was no way I could justify talking about For Quest for the Best, and it sucks because I love that film. But I'm bringing it up because it's the exact same amount of time as this film, but stuff is happening in that movie. Stuff is happening constantly, but like 3 minutes would go by in that film and it would feel like 20 because so much stuff had happened. This, 15 minutes will go by like that because like nothing happens in there. But at the same time, you're just like, I get it. I understand. I'm in this zone now. And this is the pace that I'm on. I'll keep going with it.
And the funny thing is, when we woke up, Anthony
we should
Weiner...
point that out. The film Weiner is about Anthony Weiner and his wife, Huma. Yeah, that was it. And this morning we woke up and they were trending
on Twitter
because it was announced that they were not going to get divorced. I was like, God damn it! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We can't talk about this?
I feel like it was the universe trying to tell us that you need to do a Pigor on Wiener. And it's like, why didn't we do that? I mean, even though...
There's no point in, like, I know people would be like, why on earth are you just randomly talking about a year-old documentary? It was so good. I really want.
Also, there are people out there who want you to review older movies.
There are, so we might do that eventually. But yeah, it was just the weirdest fucking time. Like, it was just the universe like taking a victory lap around us because we couldn't talk about that film. And it was just rubbing our face in it like so much pie. Just yeah. Doesn't it feel good to know that you can't talk about this thing that's in the news and it's perfectly lined up? But
kind of like how the universe is just rubbing the ghost face into like everything.
Yeah, man. This movie, here's the thing, it's meant to make you feel really shitty for this ghost, and it does, because yeah, he just has to sit there. And the thing is, like, it's not like the ghost is sitting there like,
no, he's just not doing anything. He's just very still, very...
You get that sense of sadness from him.
Yeah, I mean, even, and like, once again, the sheet's covering his face, you can't even like see his facial expressions, but just him standing there, you understand like all the melancholy that he's going through.
And I think a lot of it just has to do with like the way that the eye holes are cut in the sheet. I mean, I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's like, no, they are sad looking eye holes. And the sheet, as time goes on, it does get more tattered. It looks like they shot this film in order just so that they could go, never wash the sheet. Start it clean, just film the movie in order. As it gets dirtier in real life, it's getting dirtier in the film.
But at the same time, there are like shots in like different angles.
Yeah.
So it's like, did they film?
That comes up later. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, there is. So I found it interesting, kind of like watching like him have to deal with this, and it gets really interesting when it gets to a point where Rooney Mara leaves. Like she just is like, yeah, I can't deal with this anymore.
It's like she has to move on. She can't deal with this.
Yeah, and like time for him is moving differently now. Like there's moments in which he watches her leave, then she's in the house again and she leaves, in the house again and she leaves. Like basically he's watching days and weeks and months go by like that.
Yeah.
And I found that to be interesting because it's trying to make you feel like how a ghost feels. And there's a moment in which he sees the ghost in the house next door and the ghost says, I'm waiting for someone. Who? I don't remember. And I was like, shoot, man, yeah, these ghosts have been around for so long and time moves so oddly for them. Yeah, they don't even know why they're haunting a place at some point. But as she eventually decides she has to leave, which before that, she ends up hooking up with someone, like
Yeah.
just some stranger. And that's like the one moment in which like the music starts swelling and like you see lights start flickering around
Yeah,
the
like
ghost.
I felt like that was the ghost being angry that
yeah.
like she has moved on, and like you can tell like his anger is like affecting the
And
house.
That's the one part where I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this. Because you also see him like now moving stuff kind of with his mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you were telling this type of story. Now that the ghost has psychic powers when he gets angry, it's like, all right, now it's kind of this type of story over here. But after she leaves, which when she's leaving, she writes something down on a piece of paper, folds up, shoves it into a crack in the wall, and then paints over the crack. And the ghost is just scratching at it like an animal, just trying to get at it. But then all of a sudden these kids come running in, and this single mom comes in, and then he turns and he looks, and now all of a sudden the kids are like, their furniture is up, and then he turns in another direction, another Christmas tree is up. And yeah, time is just going by. It's like this new family moved in, and there's one moment in which the ghost being able to actually move stuff actually did work for me. Because there is a moment which after he has just gone by days and months of this family being in here, and he doesn't know them, it's so weird for him. He just walks up to them at dinner, is just staring at them, and then just picks up a glass, holds up, and then throws it on the ground, then throws the cabinets open and starts grabbing all the dishes and throwing around. And it looks like just because we can see him in the sheet, this sad man in a sheet, yeah, it looks to us like this is just a really sad, depressed guy losing his crap.
Like he's just so angry that these random strangers came into his house. And everything is just moving on, and he's just stuck there.
Yeah,
and,
it's like you understand it completely.
But at the same time, it's like, this family didn't do anything to you. You're kind of being a dick to them.
It honestly made me look at the Paranormal Activity films, because it's that every Paranormal Activity film has that scene where it's like, oh, the cupboards open up and the dishes are now flying over. And I was like, that is exactly what it looks like to them, but because we can see this ghost and we've been following him, to us, it's a sad man just breaking down. And like, that's actually kind of freaking genius of how they were able to do that, because yeah, if you take the man out of it and you just see cabinets flying open and dishes flying over, it's like, oh my goodness, there's a ghost in the house. But you see this guy who we've been following and we've been like seeing what he's been going through, and you can actually see the guy there in this sad sheet. It's like, just a poor, sad man. Like, yeah, it's kind of incredible that they were able to do that. That to me is the best moment in this entire film. Then the movie to me starts to get, this is when it starts moving into the third act of the film, and this is when it kind of started to go, all right, now I think you're trying to be too smart for your own good. Because I was actually like, I'm not gonna say I was digging the film, but I was like, all right, I get where you're going. And when it got to that moment there with this family, when he kind of lost it, I was really into this film.
I was like, at that point, I was curious if like the family was gonna like call it Exorcist or something, or
that might have been a little bit too goofy for this. Yeah,
like so eventually, like they do the smart thing and move out of the haunted house, but then eventually someone else moves in,
and it's a bunch of pretentious like hipster kids
having a big old party.
I'm not even gonna say kids though. These people are my age.
Yes.
Then again, I'm a hipster too. But yeah, it's these people that move in. They're having a party, and this is when the movie kind of lost me.
Yeah.
Because he's walking around this party, and I was like, okay, still with it. Great feeling of. Now there's even more people in here that you don't know. Now it's crowd. Now it's full of music that you don't know. Now it's full of people you don't know, talking about stuff you don't know. And you're just surrounded by all these people. Now you're totally out of it. It really kind of creates that feeling of the sense of a ghost with people in his house that he doesn't want there, but also that feeling of being the one person at the party who doesn't know anybody and you're just kind of lost and you don't know who to talk to. It's like, wow, you really did. And then there is some uber fucking hipster dude there. And again, I say that as a hipster. There's some uber hipster dude there who is talking about, yeah, so what, you want to write a book? So what, who cares? Eventually one day, this is all going to break down. Maybe you're going to write an amazing song. Maybe you write the greatest thing since Mozart. You know, you're going to write some amazing symphony. But then one day, society is just going to keep growing, going to pass it down to your kids. But then your kids are going to die eventually. Who cares about that? Or do you have kids over there? Your kids are going to die someday. And I'm not like making this up.
No, like you were doing the short version actually.
Yeah, I'm doing the abbreviated version, and it keeps going. And it's like, and then one day, eventually, everything is going to collapse in on itself. All of our society is going to crumble, and we're going to go back to living in caves. And maybe one day, somewhere in the back of someone's mind, they're going to start humming that symphony, and we'll give everyone hope that they're more than just hunters who are scared of dying in and starving. It's going to inspire them to go on and do something else, and they're going to start building again. But then eventually one day our sun is just going to implode, and everything will be sucked into a tiny little atom again, and then it will burst back out, and we'll all begin again. So fuck it, write your book if you want. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? Everything's gonna die. Like, and there's a moment in which it pans around as he's saying this, and everyone at the party has stopped dancing, stopped talking, and they're all standing around staring at him. And I went,
dude, what
this
the fuck?
is like, this is hipster art student jerk-off material is what this is. This fantasy that if I go in there and say the most pretentious thing at a party, everyone will pay attention to me and be wowed by my brilliance.
Like, well, that what I got from it is everyone was staring at him like, dude, what the fuck? Why
Dude,
you gotta...
the next scene in there needed to be like, who the fuck invited you?
Like, shut up, you're
No
drunk.
one.
Shut up, you are drunk. You are drunk off your ass. Go home right now.
No,
But
that guy was not drunk. Well,
maybe, I don't know.
that guy was on something else.
But no, drunk and on drugs.
That guy, Jesus.
But
that's the guy at the party who carries around like one half, like full bottle of like
imported, like
a half full cup of like some imported shit and never drinks the whole time because they're just holding it to make themselves look smart. Like, it is the, like, here's the thing. This movie is not pretentious.
No.
And to me, the definition of pretentious is when you think you're so much smarter than you actually are. It is not pretentious. This film knows what it is. It knows what it's striving for, and it achieves that. Up until this moment, and it becomes the most pretentious scene in any fucking movie I've seen this year, because basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to sum up the struggle of this ghost, that he's going to be there as society keeps going on and on and on and on. And I was like, yeah, dude,
we already knew that.
I was like, you're house number 3. We fucking got that at this point. And you just summed it up. You just had to stop the whole film to tell the audience what the plot is. At the beginning of the 3rd act, when it's like, who the fuck in here has not figured this out at this point? And you did in the most like snobbish, dickhole-ish way. That's like, to have an entire party just stop and stare at this guy. Not even that, to have 4 people at a table stop and listen to this guy. I was like,
well, I thought they were just like all talking about this, and like, you know, it's one of those conversations that eventually comes up in a party with your like closest friends or some shit when you've had too much to drink or smoke.
Yes, but still at the same time it's like, this is just so lazy how they just stopped the whole film to tell us what the plot of it was. And like,
yeah,
dude, we fucking know. Like, do you have no respect for your audience?
And the ghost was angry too, because as soon as he was done with his preachy bullshit, like the lights start flickering. So it's like, so you knew the ghost was fed up with his shit. And then immediately it cuts to like the house being completely trashed.
Yeah, it cuts to like the light bulbs are all destroyed, there's spider webs everywhere, and he's still just clawing away at where his wife left him.
Yeah, the piano, which was there since like before they
moved in. Yeah,
that was like on the ground, smashed too. So,
but he's just back there scratching at the wall. And then all of a sudden, a bulldozer breaks through the front door, and I jumped at that like, Jesus Christ.
No, it's like, here's the thing. He finally scratched at it enough where he can like grab a piece of paper, but at that time, that's when the bulldozer came in, so it's like, wow, all this for fucking nothing.
Yeah, not entirely.
No, but
because
it's like...
then it goes on and it shows him now he's in like a construction site and he's walking around the construction site like day by day as it's getting built.
No, it's like there's like another point before that. It's like, yeah, like once the bulldozer not only like destroyed his house, but the house next to him where the other ghost was.
Yes.
So he like
this is important, yes.
Yeah, he turns to the other ghost and he's like, so what now? It's like, what's going on? And then the other ghost is like, I guess they're not coming, and it just vanishes. Just the sheet just drops to the ground.
Yeah, the other ghost who kept saying, I'm waiting for someone, and like there's another moment in this film in which he sees that ghost again, and the ghost goes, oh, what is it? I thought you were... Never mind. So it's like he's still clearly waiting for this person, and that moment after the house was destroyed, when this ghost finally says, I don't think they're coming, he then like, the sheet just falls to the ground, and it's very clear that was him finally getting
or her,
closure.
We don't know which.
That's true. It's clear that was them finally getting closure and finally being able to move on. So it's like, okay, they established that, and they needed to establish that. But then it cuts to him like being in this building as it's being built, and then it's like it's an office building, and he's walking through this office that meetings are being held.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
like they built a building on top of his house, so it's like it keeps
the entire neighborhood.
The entire neighborhood is like it keeps going further into the future, and you just still see the ghost stuck there, like he has not been able to move on.
He's still in this building, and he finally goes to the top of this building, and you see the landscape, and it is the future.
Yes.
Like, it looks like Blade Runner, is what it looks like. And he goes over to the edge, and looks over, and then he just falls. He just jumps off of this building, and then he wakes up, and it's now all trees and plants everywhere. It's trees and grass and everything, and there's a pilgrim looking dude putting down spikes, and then like the pilgrim's family comes in and it's like, yeah, we're gonna build a house here, it's going to be wonderful. And I know that they were basically trying to say this is what happened with what the hipster pretentious dude was saying.
Yeah.
That like, oh, eventually everything's gonna collapse and we're all gonna start over again. But I was like, I'm sorry, how far have we been in which everything collapsed and all the buildings are gone? Like even in Planet of the Apes, there's still the Statue of Liberty just hanging around.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned before, like time moves very differently.
I was honestly wondering if this was one of those like cyclical time things in which like it's not so much that time moved ahead and like all of society collapsed and now we're back at Pilgrim level of development, but more of all of reality was destroyed and then restarted.
Yeah, like that's the kind of feeling I got too. It's like at first I wasn't sure if he fell back into the past or so far into the future that the universe ended and restarted.
I think that's what it is.
Okay, yeah, I think so too, especially after that pretentious
because I mean, yeah, the pretentious dude like summed it all up. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, to me, it would have been far more interesting if it was like, okay, I have now gone even further into the future after society has collapsed, and now I'm just kind of stuck here with this. But I understand they probably didn't have the budget for that. But it's just kind of odd to me that's like, well, how many more years were you just sitting around waiting until all of time and space like restarted itself? Because that's what ends up happening. Because spoiler alert, after he then watches this little pilgrim family get murdered, and then he just like is watching a corpse like dissolve in front of him over like decades at a time, until eventually he's inside a house. And then he sees himself and his wife walk in there to buy the house. And that's when I realized, oh, this isn't society collapsed and like the level of development that we have kind of went backwards. This is time and space restarted itself.
Right.
Which then kind of like makes me go, okay, so did time and space stop like, I don't know, a couple of years after you ghost-suicide yourself? Or
ghost-decide?
Yeah, or if you ghost-decide, do you then just go into the next world? Like, it's one of those where they do not want you to think about, but I couldn't help it. I kind of thought about it.
It's like, this is like too. It's like they don't want you to think about it, but at the same time they want you to. So it's like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those things where, okay, how this works is not the point. If you're thinking about how it works, you don't understand, because that's not the point of the film. It's like, I want to agree with you, but you stopped the entire fucking movie to have pretentious dude at the party make a speech about how all of this works. So, sorry, not sorry, but I'm thinking about it. So, yeah, I did have problems with that. It felt kind of weird. I honestly, to me, if he had... Because, like I said, originally I thought it was one thing when society collapsed and the level of development that we had went back to, like, the stage of Pilgrims. I would have been totally okay with this movie then basically saying, like, okay, he had his chance to move on, he didn't have his chance to move on, and because he didn't do that, he's now been stuck in this house, and because the house is gone, he has no way of basically getting closure on anything, and then he tries to kill himself, and that's how he wants to end it. I would have been totally cool with this film then starting with him then staying in the field, and then seeing the pilgrims walk up, and hearing the pilgrim talk about building the house, and he's just standing there like, oh, fuck. And then it ends, because it would have been a sad ending, of like, yeah, you can't even like, you're already dead. You can't re-kill yourself to get out of the situation. You're just stuck in this. I would have really dug seeing that, because then it leaves it open to, well, I don't know exactly what happened there, but I have theories, and any of these theories work, and it's not that important, so I don't have to think about it. And also it does kind of like continue that theme of, yeah, man, you're just kind of there. You're just kind of stuck there forever, which is what this film is about. But it keeps going on until eventually loops back around, cyclical time stuff, and he sees himself and his wife come in there, they move in there. And there are some cool things that happen here, because there's moments early on in this film where a scene is being shot in a specific way, and now it looks like it's being shot in the opposite way, and you can now see the ghost in there. Like, there's a moment early on in this film in which Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara are in bed, and they hear the piano crash, and then they go looking down, and they're looking around like, I don't know, I guess someone just fell on the piano, and then they look around a little bit more, and then they leave. In this, you see the ghost sit down on the piano and make the boom sound, and then they come down, but now the camera is on the opposite side of the room, and you can see him on the piano against the wall while Casey Affleck is going around looking around. And we were honestly wondering if these are the exact same shots, because they felt like they lined up pretty darn well. Like they had some kind of a way of like hiding the reverse camera so that we never saw them.
Yeah.
That would be pretty damn cool if they were able to pull that off. Like, I would applaud them for that. But basically, he watches their lives go through all over again, including watching Casey Affleck make his mixtape. There's a moment in here in which there is one song that plays, and it's supposed to hold a big purpose to this film, but it was just it just came off to me more of like, yeah, this director just really liked this song, and he really just wanted an excuse to put it in this film. Like, it really kind of felt, it did not feel to me like that song held the weight that the director thought it was going to hold here. It feels more to me like he was just like, this song is important to me, I'm gonna make it important in this movie. It's not really. It's kind of just you stopping the film to play this song, but okay, whatever. Because, I mean, the first time that we hear it, it's just Rooney Mara with the headphones on, like, yeah, as the entire song is going along. Like, they just stop to let you hear the whole song. Which, again, I get it goes along with the theme of the movie, which is just that, hey, if you're a ghost, you're just gonna sit there and you're just gonna watch this. That's it. If someone's gonna sit there and listen to a whole song, you're gonna sit there and listen to a whole song with them. But then the second time that comes around, it's like watching their lives play out to this song. It's like, this feels almost music video-y to me. But then Casey Affleck dies again, and now there's two ghosts in there.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't sure if like I thought the ghosts were gonna like say hi to each other or something, but
what I thought was gonna happen is that maybe the original Casey Affleck ghost was going to like look at new Casey Affleck ghost and then stop and think, and they would turn to like a blank spot in the room and be curious. Then we would watch all this play out again, and then it would come back, and now original Casey Affleck was going to be in that spot that he was looking at originally, and now there'd be three ghosts in the room.
Yeah, it's like just more and more until there's like an entire army of ghosts.
Yeah, I was looking at this like, how the fuck is this gonna play out?
Like, it just pans out, and you just see like an entire field of ghosts, and that's how it would end.
And then, and then Kevin Costner would build a baseball field, and they'd all go and play baseball in there. Yeah, field of ghosts. Yes. But yeah, when it got to that point, I was like, what the fuck is the point of this film? Because originally I understood the point. It was that, okay, it's what is it like to be a ghost? But then it was like, so ghosts keep multiplying because time keeps repeating itself. That feels like a message is supposed to be in here. Our sins, our ghosts of the past keep building up and multiplying. I don't know.
I thought it was more like being like stuck in a loop.
Okay, I can
sort
see
of
that.
thing. I thought that was the message, not necessarily like, you know, what...
I think I'm overthinking it, yeah. But then it
you didn't understand it.
I tried too hard to understand. But then original Casey Affleck ghost goes over to the wall that she just painted. He scratches on it, is able to get the note out, looks at it. Of course, we don't see what's on the note, but I'm fine with that. Because after an entire film of, like, build up to that, there's nothing that could be on the note that would make us go, oh, okay. Plus, it's something personal for, like, him.
Yeah.
But it's like, that was his closure they needed. So he sees the note, and then he fades away, and that's in the movie.
It's like, I don't know about you, but I actually, like, sighed in relief after that part. I was like, oh, he doesn't have to, like, go through the shit anymore. He can finally move on, so...
I want to. Like, if they had found a way to put that in there sooner, yes. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, so in order to give him closure, you had to restart the universe. Like, that's kind of my problem with this end. That's like, I like the idea of him being able to get closure and that he doesn't have to keep doing this over and over again, because yeah, you're watching this guy being tortured throughout this entire movie. You need him to get some kind of closure. But the fact that they had to like hit a universal redo button in order to make him go back to that point, if there had been some kind of a way of like, in the wreckage of the office building when it eventually goes down, like you just see him like digging through there for like years and years trying to get it all.
Yeah, but at the same time, he can't really interact with anything unless he's like emotional or like enraged or something, so I don't know how he would...
Well, we don't know how it works because like he was just clawing at this for like years, so...
Yeah, but that like maybe maybe like his clawing is like similar to like erosion or something like that.
That's a good way of looking at it. Okay, I can see that.
It's like, actually, like, the more I think about it, the more this reminds me of that Futurama episode where they take the time machine into the future and...
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Fry's dog. Oh.
No. But they take...
Kind of that too, though.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like they take, you know, when they take the time machine into the future and eventually it just, like, loops back around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I kept thinking about while watching this.
Which, yeah, the thing is, the idea of, like, a cyclical timeline in which everything just keeps looping back around... That's not a new thing.
It's not,
that's like a theory that's been explored in other stuff. Probably better in that Futurama episode than anything else. That's like the Futurama writers were brilliant, like way smarter than people give them credit for. But the thing is, that to me is such a sci-fi concept.
Yeah.
And this is a supernatural thing, and it just kind of feels weird that the answer to his supernatural crisis was the sci-fi just come right in there kind of thing. So, yeah, it's one of those things in which I was really kind of digging this film. It took a while. I was okay with it. I understood what it was. I thought it was succeeding at what it was doing, but I wasn't really that into it until it got to that scene with the new family in there. Then I was fully invested. Then pompous hipster guy came in there, and I was like...
And fucked everything up.
Ooh.
Fuck you and your hipster bullshit.
Oh, I don't know about this. But then it gets the office building part, and I'm like, oh, I'm back in this. Oh, this is really sad. Oh, if this is where this movie ends, man... Great, I'm down for it. And then it just kind of kept going and kept going. And then when it gets to the point in which time loops around, I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this anymore. And then when it's kind of revealed they did the time loop so that way he could have a way to finally get closure, it just kind of felt too odd to me that the way that they gave him closure was restarting the universe. It's just odd to me.
Well, you know how like the universe has to like restart itself? Like maybe like his cycle is like sort of off. You know, like the universe is here, like his life is here, so like the universe is there and like sort of
like, he's kind of like slightly off.
Yeah, slightly off schedule basically.
So I was kind of interested to see after like Casey Affleck comes back again, like if he had like been able to look out and see like the other ghosts across the way. Like I think there could have been some more interesting stuff they could do with that, except at that point they were like, yeah, we need to wrap this up, but first a music video.
And I was like, it would have been interesting to be like if he could interact, but at the same time it's like, you know, he doesn't want to. He wants to like get out of here. He wants to like find out what was on the note and like get the fuck out of there because he's been through the shit long enough.
Yeah, this is a film that I actually think, for a film in which, as people complain, not a lot happens, I think that does give you a lot of stuff to discuss. This is a great film. Man, I'm just thinking about like a girlfriend that I had in college who just loved artsy films, and I was like, man, if I wanted to get some good points with her, this is the film I would have taken her to. So to all you college kids out there, this is my little tip to you. If you're dating an artsy person, Ghost Story. Yeah, this is a film where it's, after you watch it, you go to a little coffee shop, you sit down, you discuss it with everyone, and then you get a good little discussion going, and then you're out.
And then you have that hipster douchebag who explains everything.
Here's like, if you watch this film and you look at that hipster douchebag and you're like, yeah, I dig what this guy's saying, just stop. Just take a good long look at yourself. But if you look at that guy like, the fuck is this guy talking about? It's like, okay, you're doing okay. Good
or if you look at him, it's like, shut the fuck up, then you're good.
You're doing alright. Yeah, again, it's like, it's not so much that I was like, I had a problem with, there was some hipster guy talking about pretentious philosophy. It's that it's like, you just happen to have a guy come in there and explain the entire plot of your film at the third act, long after we've all figured out, and it's a plot so weird to bring up in regular discussion under any circumstance. I couldn't buy that. I mean, it would almost be like, man, I hate to like make like a superhero comparison here, but it would almost be like if 2/3 through a Spider-Man movie, Peter Parker's just chilling in a diner and some hipster guy goes, well, you know, let's talk about the arachnids and how the spider sense actually works and certain brands of spiders just randomly popping up out of nowhere. Oh, and let's talk about the weird philosophy of goblins, green ones in particular, and how they connect with the deep history of spiders. Like, if that just happened 2/3 of the way through a Spider-Man film, you look at it and call it absolute bullshit. And you should. What I'm saying is, don't give this movie extra points just because it's artsy. It's like, that's a really stupid way to tell a story.
Like, that scene would have been, like, more realistic if, like, you know how in like, when the party started, like, the ghost was walking by and, like, one guy was doing a card, just like, you believe in the supernatural, right? But it doesn't dwell on it?
Yeah.
If it was something like that...
Oh, that's actually a
yeah, like, if he was just walking by, like, a group of friends and one of the friends is like, what if the universe just keeps repeating itself?
Yeah, like if it was something that you heard, because before he's the pretentious dude, there's another guy trying to hit on a girl by doing magic tricks, and he's like, do you believe in the supernatural? Oh, I think you can feel something. If he doesn't, like, but he doesn't dwell that long, he just keeps walking by, and like we stop on him for like maybe 20 seconds. This dude talks about this for like 3-4 minutes straight as everyone shuts up to listen to him. If it had been a thing we had kind of like heard somebody talking in the background about, and again we got like 20 seconds on and kept like walking past, it's like, I think that would have been way better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then again, it's just the fact that to me it's like, yeah, I think it's going to come out. You were good with the way that it gave him closure. I was just kind of like, as sad as it would be, I would rather he get no closure and it's just a really sad ending than to hit the universal redo button on this one. But I mean, again, I'm not even saying that's bad. I'm saying it didn't work for me because you like that. So it's like, yeah, this is a film that it's good for discussion.
Yeah, it's like,
which that's the point of this show. Yeah, you have anything else you want to throw in?
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
I've pretty much had to say what I had to say.
Yeah, so, okay, this was another episode of The Quest for the Best, and if you want to see us talk about other films that everybody called the best of the year, we've got a couple more episodes of this coming out before we do our official best movies of the year list, but on rotating alternate days, we're doing The Gauntlet of Garbage, our look at the worst films of the last year, all leading up to our worst films of the year list. So if you want to see those, then make sure you click on that subscribe button. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next time. Bye.